Welcome back. So Labor has come up with its plan to cap prices on gas and coal and bring down energy bills, it says, from the second quarter of next year. It's struggling so far to necessarily get support in the Senate. There's been a furious reaction from, in particular, the gas industry and so far today the opposition as well, including from Peter Dutton. So what about the view of business? Joining me live is Willox, CEO of the Australian Industry Group. For more on this, thanks very much for your time. A big issue for a lot of businesses, of course. What's your reaction to the government's plan?
Well, Tom, it was always going to be messy to intervene in a market this way and to this extent, and that's how it's proved. Obviously, when you intervene in the market the way they have, the market is going to react. Gas producers are obviously upset and anxious about investments and profits and those sort of things. The fact is, though, the government's been talking about this for a very long time and has felt that it has had to intervene, sort of in a war-like way, to try to put downward pressure on prices, which were just, quite frankly, for many in industry, getting out of control. 400% increases in some cases that we've heard of, which sort of blows the budget estimations of sort of 50% increases completely out of the park. So the question here is we have to keep industry going. This is a temporary solution, though, to a permanent structural problem. It buys the government perhaps 12 months, but Russia-Ukraine enters its 10th month of conflict later this week. That's not going to stop anytime soon. The world gyrations in energy markets are going to continue. This might help in the short term put spot prices down, but we are going to need a longer term structural solution to this problem. One other thing, Tom, it opens up a couple of quick questions. One is on trade. Are we open to trade disputes in the future over the market intervention? And two, how do unions react when companies they believe get more money in their pockets? Are they going to use this to try to squeeze companies for bigger pay rises?
Well, on trade then, because there's some pretty dramatic things being said in particular about the gas market. We know we export a lot of gas. We export plenty of coal too, but that's not going to be as affected. We use about 5% of total gas extracted domestically. So 95% is so far totally unaffected by this. Talks of nationalising gas. I mean, is this pretty overblown from gas suppliers in terms of this claim?
Well, I think so. This is government intervention in a market which has not been working in the national interest. So it's important that there was some intervention. How the government chose to do it in the end is up to them, and how they work it through is up to them. But we had market failure here. Had attempts by gas users, gas consumers and gas producers to try to resolve this last year in 2021 through a voluntary code of conduct to address price issues, and that failed. And that now is why the government's had to intervene. Look, it's a big step. Let's not downplay it, Tom. It's a big step that the government's taken, and there'll probably be a lot more action now and Thursday before they try to get it through the parliament. I mean, the Greens are unhappy on the one side, David Pocock's unsure on another. The opposition is opposing. I think there's a fair way to play out yet to come.
So on the longer term solution then, because we had the coalition saying, sort out supply, it's become a bit of a tricky thing because there's a lot of gas. It's a question of, how much of it is reserved, dare I say it, for the local market? Is it time to go, well, look, here are some projects that are going to get up and running soon. If you look at Narrabri, Beetaloo and so on, we do need a reservation policy because we've seen in the past, if gas suppliers are left to their own devices, eventually they let the market kick in and leave domestic users vulnerable to the market, even if they're not technically tied into that global market. Is that the thing to do, to say, right, we'll get some more supply, but we need a guarantee that's not only going to be used domestically, but priced appropriately, considering it's an Australian asset?
Tom, the way you've explained it makes getting there is very difficult for all the different component parts involved in this. We do need to address supply. Supply is the number one issue. You can't have a conversation on price unless you've got supply, and we've locked up a lot of our supply at the moment. So we need to have deeper conversations around supply, particularly Victoria and New South Wales. We've been calling for something like a national interest test for many years now around whether more gas should be exported or not, beyond where we're already contracted. That's the sort of way we've got to go down. We're one of the world's two biggest gas producers. How we got ourselves into this position is quite far, quite frankly, from all the different parts involved. So the government's had to take this very draconian step to intervene in the market to ensure that we keep prices down. It will impact spot prices, but not every company or industrial user is going to benefit from this. This is the key point to make here. Companies already locked into contracts look like they will be locked into those contracts, and above that, that price that the government's fixed at about $12, $13 a gigajoule. That's going to be very difficult for a lot of companies, albeit at a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting part of the complexity, isn't it? What happens to those companies? And then you are talking about existing contracts. I suppose broadly, listening to you today, Innes, and I'm just asking this to clarify. I don't want to put words in your mouth. It sounds as though you agree this is drastic, but in particular with gas companies, where they've allowed things to get to on what domestic users are charged. Yes, it's a big complex market, but where they've allowed that to get to, that they've put the government in a situation where it had to intervene.
So this is drastic, messy, but some action was necessary. That's how I put it. It's still going to be hard to unravel from here, but to go on the way we were was going to be untenable for many parts of Australian industry which are vital to our economic success and complexity. And that's the bottom line here. If you want to be a country that makes stuff, you have to allow companies to be able to do it, and energy price and reliability is essential to our industrial success. And we let that get away from ourselves.
Innes Willox, I know it's been something that's been the subject of many meetings at your organisation as well as around the rest of the country. Appreciate your time and your thoughts today. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.